everybody. If you watched my last video or maybe the video before that, I don't know what order I'm going to post them in. I'm doing a few videos tonight, and so yes, that's why I'm wearing the same clothes. It is 4th of July, so if you hear some explosions and whistles and stuff in the background, it's just fireworks going off in the neighborhood, so please ignore those. But I wanted to share with you guys my thoughts on a very interesting and possibly not well enough covered subject. And that is, as a firearms owner, concealed carrier, open carrier, whatever the case may be, how do you deal with a traffic stop? So you're speeding or your brake light's out or whatever, cop pulls you over, you are carrying a loaded firearm, or you have firearms in the vehicle. Especially today with the negative attitude that some have towards law enforcement, which I totally don't get. But the attacks that they've undergone and just the high stress aspects of their job day to day, even without the negative connotation that some people have for them, you have to kind of put yourself in their shoes a little bit, I think. And I'm going to tell you actually how I've dealt with 2 traffic stops that I've been involved in when I was concealed carrying. So both of these were in my wife's car, and I was on a road trip cross country. And the state that my wife's car was registered in at the time was a 2-plate state, which means you have to have a plate on the back of the vehicle and the front of the vehicle. Now, my wife's car wasn't set up for that from the factory, and she didn't want to put a plate on the front just because it wouldn't have looked good and all those things. Okay, fine, totally get it. So there wasn't a front plate on the car, and I got pulled over twice for that reason. I'll share both stories and you'll understand why I'm a little iffy on the second one. The first time was broad daylight, middle of the afternoon. I was driving through a state in the Midwest, and I got pulled over. I thought it was because I was speeding. I didn't know if I was speeding or not. I didn't see a speed limit sign because I didn't know where I was. I was looking at maps and stuff like that, so I hadn't caught the speed limit sign. So I pull over, and normally when I'm driving, my pistol is exposed because I carry appendix, and I'll do a video about how I do that later. It's pretty simple, but so first thing I did, pull over, take my shirt and my seatbelt and cover my pistol, and just put both hands on the steering wheel, go ahead and roll the window down, which I thought he was going to come to the driver's side window. Turns out the officer came to the passenger side window, but I had both hands on the steering wheel so he could see both of my hands. That is very important as a very first step because you want to make sure when the officer comes up that they can see your hands. The hands are the things that will kill you. You may be able to see intent through body language or verbal cues or anything like that, but the hands are the things that can hurt and kill you. So that's what the officer is going to be most concerned about at first. So if you're very obvious, hey, my hands are here, you're not reaching for anything or doing anything, they're already going to feel a bit safer. If it's dark, turn on all the lights in the vehicle, just hit that on switch so they can see everything in the vehicle as well as they possibly can with those lights. And again, keep your hands on the steering wheel. So officer comes up, and I see these on this side, on the passenger side, so I reach over slowly and roll down that window so I can talk to him. And he's giving me the whole spiel. I pulled you over because there's no front tag, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, officer, I understand. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that I kept my hands on the steering wheel the whole time. I want to let you know I do have a firearm. I do have a concealed carry license, and I'm carrying a loaded firearm. And he said, okay, where is it? And this is very important. Without moving my hands, because I like to talk with my hands. If you guys have been watching my videos for any length of time, you'll know that. But without moving my hands to point or reach or anything, I said it's at the 12 o'clock position on my body, aka appendix carry. But that 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock or whatever, that's a very, easily understood direction of where that gun is. So he knows where it is. And so he said, okay. We talked a little bit more. And then he wanted to get me out of the vehicle. He came around to the driver's side. The officer was very professional and courteous. I don't believe, in my opinion, that this next part of the story was necessary, but he's the cop. He felt that it was necessary, and because I remained cool and respectful and calm, it was a very good experience overall. He got me out of the vehicle, had me face the vehicle, put my hands on the top of the car. He reached around, took the pistol out, unloaded it, put it and the magazine and the round that was in the chamber in my front seat, and then had me come back to his car with him. So he separated me from the weapon for his safety, and with all the stuff going on with cops these days and people hating cops and wanting to attack cops, I get it. And he had me in the passenger seat of his vehicle while we were sitting there, and he ran my license and all this stuff. He did end up giving me a written warning, which he even told me, like, you're probably never going to get a ticket for this unless you're doing something else wrong. But gave me a written warning, sent me on my way. It did take a little bit of time, but I was never in handcuffs. I was never read my rights. I was never arrested. Nothing like that happened. He just unloaded my gun, separated me from the weapon, treated me like a human being. And then when the transaction was over, and he said, okay, you're free to go. I said, all right, I'm going to load up first before I drive away. And he said, you're good. That's fine. So he knew I was going to be handling my firearm right there, and it was okay. So that's the first story. The second story was similar. I was driving my wife's car, middle of the night this time. It was like 2:30 in the morning. And I was driving through a bunch of back roads in a place, again, I was not familiar with. And I knew the speed limit was 65 at this point, but I was driving 48 miles an hour. And that's because I had seen several deer, when I got up close enough to them, the headlights shining their eyes. And I didn't want to hit a deer, especially in my wife's car. So I was driving 48. And it was late at night. And I got pulled over by an officer. Because, I mean, think about it from the cop's perspective. Late at night, guy's driving super slow, middle of nowhere. I wonder if he's drunk. So, pulls me over, and same thing. Turn the lights on, roll the window down, grab the steering wheel, and just don't move until he tells you you can move. He comes up, whole spiel. I said, okay, just so you know, before we get started here, I am carrying a gun. I had other guns in the vehicle as well, so I told him, hey, I've got more guns in the back seat. I just came from a firearms course, so I have multiple firearms in the vehicle. He said, okay, and he started asking me some other questions. I think he was trying to trip me up because he was asking me the same question in different ways. I think he was trying to see if I was impaired in some way, if I was going to be able to track the conversation we were having. But everything worked out just fine, and I was able to finally get him to believe what I was saying and understand that, yeah, I'm tracking the conversation. I'm not impaired or anything. And he just let me go. And when he asked me why I was driving so slowly, I told him, well, it's because it's late at night and I've seen deer and I don't want to hit a deer. And he was like, okay, that seems reasonable. It's back roads, middle of nowhere. There's no traffic. It's not like I'm creating a danger by driving slowly because other people are going to be driving slowly. There's nobody on the road. So anyway, he lets me go. It's totally fine. But that's how I like to handle a traffic stop while I'm carrying. So hands on the steering wheel, window rolled down, lights on if it's dark. They come up, they introduce themselves, they say whatever they're going to say. Okay, officer, before we get started here, I want to let you know I am carrying a firearm. I do have a concealed carry license. That's also very important to say. Let them know that you are legally carrying. Now, state dependent, obviously. Some states don't require it. Some states may not honor your license. Depends on a whole bunch of things. I'm not a lawyer, not getting into that. But I always let them know I have a concealed carry license and I am carrying a firearm. And then the transaction proceeds from there. When they say, I need your license, registration, proof of insurance, if they say that like at the end of their introduction speech, I won't move until I've said those things. And they say, okay, just let me see your stuff. And I say, are you okay if I reach to get that stuff? That's another very important thing, because now you're going to start moving. And even though they've already told you to grab it, I just like to add that extra, get that verbal permission in there. Are you okay if I reach around, root through glove box or whatever, to grab the things you just asked for? A lot of cops will wear body cams these days as well. That's almost universal with police departments at this point. So that is going to be on there as well. You're asking for permission to move, and the cop is granting that permission. So just another thing in your favor, just in case something does go south. Hey, he said he was going to move. So, get the stuff, hand it to the cop. Everything goes from there. And both of these instances, the cops I was dealing with were very professional, very respectful. They didn't seem jumpy or anything like that, and I think that's partly due to how I handled the situation. I wasn't being squirrely. I wasn't moving my hands around or keeping them where they couldn't see them or anything like that. I was very cooperative and very open with the officers. Your political opinions on things may differ, and if you would handle it differently, that's totally your decision. In my opinion, law enforcement officers, for the most part, are out there to do a public service. They're there to keep us safe. They're there to protect, enforce laws and do all the things they're supposed to do. There are some bad apples, just like any other job. There are bad apples in the military. There are bad apples in customer service. There are bad apples everywhere. But most of the officers I've interacted with have been very calm, professional, level-headed people. And they're also reasonable. I mean, they are people. They have families. They have stressors in their life, and they have things going on as well. So if you treat them like a person and you kind of put yourself in their shoes a little bit, understand that every call they respond to, every car they pull over could mean the end of their life. If you understand that and you act in such a way as to let them know, hey, I'm not a threat to you, I'm not going to shoot you or grab for your gun or do anything violent towards you, it'll go a long way, not just to keeping the situation from escalating, but also possibly for you getting out of a ticket. I mean, if you're nice to a cop, if you're respectful, if you let them know, hey, I've got a gun, I'm legal in carrying that gun, all these different important things, they may go, okay, you know what, this was a really good stop. This guy seems like a guy with his head on straight. He's just average dude going about his business, and maybe he was going a little fast or something. I'll let him off with a warning. But if you treat the cop like crap, you cuss him out, you get mad at him, whatever, you're probably going to get a ticket. I mean, that's just the reality of it, right? They have a lot of discretion when it comes to that. So, rambling a little bit at this point. Sorry, I do that a lot. If you watch my other videos, you know. But that's how I handle a traffic stop. There are other videos on YouTube about that. There are, seminars and training. And if you go ask a cop how to handle a traffic stop while carrying a gun, they will probably tell you very similar things to what I just said. Having a cop in my family, having friends that are cops, and doing some research on the internet, that's kind of the procedure, if you will, for me personally for a traffic stop. And I wanted to share that with you guys because maybe it'll benefit you guys in the future, or at the very least, it's something to think about. So I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and post a comment down below if you've been in a traffic stop while you were concealed carrying. Let us know how that turned out. Tell the story. What did you do? What could you maybe have done better? What could I add to my procedure that would maybe make it better, make it for a better interaction between me and the cop, if that ever does happen to me again? Just put your story down in the comments. I think we'd all appreciate reading that. So thanks for watching the video, guys. I really appreciate it. Y'all have a great day. Roll Tide, and I'll see you later.